It's time for the Brouhaha Sports Show. Brouhaha Sports with award-winning sports writer Dale McKee and co-host Marshall Wood. Talking sports with the legends of the game and famous sports personalities. Brouhaha. Now to Marshall and Dale with tonight's guest.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Brouhaha. One more time, Marshall Wood and Dale McKee ready to talk a little sports action for you and with you tonight. How you doing, my partner Dale?
I'm doing fine on this hot day.
Is it hot enough for you?
Well, it could be hotter.
Yeah, it has been hotter.
Once you get in the old pickup truck and it says 102, you start scratching your head, but just a few minutes in there, it's already 92, you know.
Yeah. I got to get some Freon in my air conditioner.
Freon? Why not?
Because it ain't got none in it.
Oh, you don't need any Freon.
You know, I really don't. I ain't had any yet, so why would I need any now?
There you go.
I'm going to save that money.
I'd rather, yeah.
That'd be probably, what, 25 or 30 bucks?
Yeah.
And take the family out to eat on that.
You still got your bicycle from when you were a kid?
No, I don't.
Oh, okay.
Somebody stole it.
Somebody stole it?
Yeah. That's the truth. I stole my, I had a steering wheel on that bicycle. So if you see anybody riding a bicycle with a steering wheel and a sissy bar, steering wheel on the front, not handlebar, steering wheel, and a sissy bar on the back, it sticks up about 6 feet with a big red light in it.
I think I've seen that around town.
That's my bicycle.
I think I've seen that around town. You got about your age.
Was it, well? I bet he wasn't going very fast.
Well, he may be the one that borrowed it from you. He's going to return it.
Yeah, I hope so.
Okay.
He's had it about 60 years.
Okay. Well, things have changed a little bit.
Oh, did you ever take cards and put them on your? Did you ride a bicycle when you were a kid?
I did.
Did you ever take cards,
Oh, yeah.
and put the clothespins and make them?
Oh, yeah, baby. Love that. But now, wait a minute now. I had to make sure they weren't good players.
Oh, you're talking about collectible cards.
Well, you did save a few of them, you know.
Yeah.
You know, like a Mickey Mantle,
Yeah.
you know, the big stars, you know.
You know, I got a bunch of baseball cards.
I know. I heard about your story about you got a bunch of cards.
You want to buy some?
Oh, I may look at them for you.
Look us up on Facebook at the Brouhaha. If you want to buy some baseball cards, let us know. We can hook you up. We got, I don't know, I got one box I think's got 10,000 in them.
10,000. That's a lot to go through.
That's a lot of cards. And that's just one box.
Yeah.
I hadn't done it yet.
Yeah.
I tell you what, I'll make a deal with you.
Okay.
You just buy them all.
Okay.
All right.
Sound like a deal.
All right, let's do that. What's going on in the world of sports?
Not much.
Nothing? Okay, then.
Well,
it's been good having y'all. We'll catch you next week for more of the Brouhaha.
We had a lot of fireworks shows around town over the last week, but we fixing to get some fireworks next week in Dallas. On Monday, Lane Kiffin's. Okay, he's going to be on the stage, and you know what? He's
going to have Fine Bomb on there with him?
He's going to have.
No.
Oh, yeah.
Is he really?
Oh, you got to have him and Paul.
Man, he and Fine Bomb been hammering him, man. You tell me he ain't no good?
Oh, yeah.
He's overrated?
Overrated, yeah.
Man.
Well, you know, you can only take so much old Paul.
Yeah.
Because Paul's got some weird guests. You think we got weird guests. Paul's got weird guests.
Our guests are not weird. I'm afraid we are the weird ones when it comes to this.
Paul got some weird folks. That old woman that called, Paul! Roll Tide!
You think we'll let people call in?
Huh?
You think we ought to let people call
I'm
in?
afraid. I'm afraid.
Yeah, I am too.
They might test our knowledge, and we don't have any knowledge.
No. Hey, I made a career out of playing dumb. He ain't gonna scare me.
There you go.
What you got for us in the? What kind of sideline information do you have for us this week on your sideline view?
Well, the Mississippi High School nominated a 93-year-old woman for the National High School Sports Hall of Fame. And her name was Dot Burrows. And she's from Smithville, Mississippi, outside of Amory, somewhere up in that area. She scored 82 points in a basketball game. She scored like almost 50 points in her senior year of high school, which all these are, pretty well state records still. And that was in 1950.
Wow.
But the story about it is I talked to two people. I talked to Ricky Neves about the story, who is the Mississippi High School director. And I talked to Rick Cleveland, who wrote the original article on her. And what I found out from Rick is Rick said that he went up there, and you don't know Rick Cleveland. He's been a sports writer in Mississippi forever, Clarion Ledger, Today in Mississippi, and all that. But Rick went up there to cover the tornado in Amory in 2022 maybe, or 23, I'm not sure. And so when he went to the baseball field, because they just won the state tournament the year before. And so he went up there and ran into the baseball coach. And the baseball coach said, hey, you ought to go to that house right over there. Said, that's where James and Dot Burrows live. And said, you probably know their grandson. His name's Joe Burrow. Played at LSU. Rick said, yeah. He said, that's his grandparents? He said, yeah. And so Rick said he was surprised and shocked because he come up there to cover the tornado. Yeah. And all of a sudden he goes over there and the son, James, who played at Nebraska, is out there, and he said, well, you know, Joe's got some great stats, but my mother's got better stats. And so Rick went back, and you know, there's a lot of newspaper internet sites up there, and Rick went back to and verified all the information in there. And he said he got them out of Commercial Appeal and the Clarion Ledger and places like that. But she's almost 93 years old, and she got into the National Hall of Fame. And there was, I don't know if you know the baseball player, Joe Mayer from Minnesota. Mm-hmm. He was inducted in. And this is just for high school, what you did in high school. And the other one was the Spikes kid that played linebacker at Auburn. That played in the NFL for a while. I think he played for the Bengals. But anyway, started with a T.
Takeo.
Yeah, Takeo. Mm-hmm. Takeo was up there getting it, and they did it in Boston. It's a big thing. A few years ago, Walter Payton got inducted from Mississippi. So it's very rare that we even get people up there. But every year, Mississippi High School sends in a nomination for somebody. And they have to have two letters, and everything has to be verified. And sometimes you have to even have old newspaper articles proving that they had these great years, you know.
Yeah.
So it was an interesting story.
Yeah. I want to hit some just right quick. You may have said this, but just listen to this. The town of Smithville's population was only 419, but when Dot played, the gym crowds exceeded 1,000.
Now, I didn't put this in, but when Elvis came, he didn't draw 1,000. Of course, now he came before he got popular.
She broke her records of 68 and 72 points earlier in the year. Let's see here. In 30 games that season, she scored 1,481 points, 49.37 a game. That's scoring 1.76 points per minute. That's a scoring machine. But anyway, that was good. Thanks for rooting that out and sharing it with us.
Well, I appreciate it. It was an interesting story.
Who you got who we got tonight?
Well, now, one other thing that I wanted to go over about Joe's story on the second page there that you printed off there.
Listen to this. Second page.
Okay. Go down there to my odds and ends, the first thing, and read it to our
Southern Miss head football coach Will Hall probably did not know on his first day of kindergarten in Amory that his bus driver, Dot Burrow, was such a legend. Driving the bus, man. I love it. I love it.
Bobby Hall sent me that.
I got a friend of mine, James Williams. We call him Rat. People around here know him. He's a big LSU fan. I'm going to have to, he'll get a kick out of this Joe Burrow history here. Yeah. But anyway, did you tell us who was coming on?
No, we hadn't talked about it.
Oh, okay. Well, would you mind?
Yes, we have a kind of a former sports writer that still does a lot of things. Parrish Alford, he's from Tupelo. He used to work for the Northeast Daily. He's covered Mississippi State, Ole Miss over the years. Anyway, he's going to talk about his experience at the previous SEC Media Days that take place next week.
Okay, all righty. Well, let's take us a break here for a sponsor. We'll come back with tonight's guest, Parrish Alford, right after this commercial break.
Phillips Building Supply in Laurel, your hometown building supply store since 1954. We are locally owned and pride ourselves on helping our customers find exactly what they need. From foundations to roofs to doors and windows, Phillips has it. For tools, hardware, lumber, and plywood, visit Phillips Building Supply.
Welcome to the show, Parrish, Alford. Parrish, how you doing today?
Dale, I'm doing fine. How are you guys?
Well, we're doing good. We just trying to stay out of the heat as much as we can. And but listen, got you on the show today because I know that you've attended several SEC media days, and they're going to have a unique one this year because they're going to Texas for the first time, and they're going to have Oklahoma and Texas on the podium with them, 16 teams, and of course, we were discussing beforehand that Lane Kiffin goes up Monday, and he's got Paul Feinbaum right there in the building with him. So we're looking for some more fireworks. Well, I guess we didn't get enough the 4th of July. So, but anyway, tell us about your past experiences at the SEC, and maybe even tell us some storylines that you might think will be brought out this week.
Well, you mentioned Lane Kiffin and Paul Feinbaum. I'm sure that will be discussed. I saw that making the rounds on social media that while a lot of media folks are giving Ole Miss a lot of love right now, Paul Feinbaum is not. And I know there was a Twitter exchange between Lane Kiffin and Feinbaum a little bit last week or the week before, but, it's always what happens this time of year, just a lot of talk and a lot of anticipation. There'll be plenty of storylines, with Texas and Oklahoma coming in. I thought the SEC did a really nice job on July the 1st with their video that they circulated on social media reflecting the past and the tradition of the Southeastern Conference and then embracing the new schools, Texas and Oklahoma, with so much of their own history and tradition. And, college football is changing, and a lot of it's not really for the better, I think, with NIL and transfer portal and some of the things we see because of those changes. But also we look at the Big Ten and how that's really become a coast-to-coast conference. Well, I think one of the things the SEC takes pride in right now is the fact that while it has expanded and will always look at options to better itself, it has expanded contiguously, meaning only with border states. Even Texas and Oklahoma, they touch a state, they border a state that is in the SEC, unlike the Big Ten with all of their moves with Pac-12 people, and now you've got Washington, Oregon, and UCLA in a conference with Rutgers. They really just kind of have spread themselves out like that. I heard, in fact, and I don't know that this has come to pass or ever will, but with the Big Ten being spread out like it has, one of the things that I heard they were considering was maybe building a hub for their athletes to stay in like Ohio somewhere and just do online education while they travel to their games. But that's all Big Ten. And the SEC Media Days is really was one of my favorite events to cover through the years with the Daily Journal, and before that, the Meridian Star. Just the excitement that comes with every football season, and just to know that when that event comes, football season was really close.
Well, I think my first SEC Media Days was 1989. When was yours?
Well, my first one would have been 1989. I got to the Meridian Star then, and hadn't been there long when Greg McElvain, who was the sports editor at the time, told me that I was going over to SEC Media Days to gather information for our preseason tab that we were working on. And so I didn't go every consecutive year from '89, but I went a few more times, and I did go every consecutive year from 1996. From 96 to 22, I was there every year.
Well, I remember. I think the first one I went to, and I think it was '89. My memory's getting a little lapse here, but Ralph Boston was there. He was the track star from Laurel that won the Olympics, and he was up there. And I remember Pat Dye got up on the podium, and he said, "I had the greatest honor today. I met a Mississippi boy named Ralph Boston." And Ralph doesn't know this, but I was working at a service station when I was in college. And I think Pat Dye went to Georgia, if I'm not mistaken. And he said, I had a little black and white TV, and I was watching the Olympics and Ralph Boston win the gold medal in Rome. And I just thought, sports, athletes keep up with the other sports, and that's what I figured up. And, even we got the Olympics coming up and, several things like that. But these athletes are pretty geared at who is achieving really well results in their field. What was the most interesting? Were you there the year Arkansas and A&M came in? Oh no, Arkansas, Carolina, right?
Yeah. Let's see. I believe I was there for that year. Yeah, the first time Arkansas and Arkansas and South Carolina came as SEC members for the first time. Hadn't thought about that, so I was I was actually around for two of those SEC expansions. A lot of good things through the years. One of the things that stands out is when you have the extremely popular players. Sometimes the SEC would put them at the podium like coaches, which was the smart thing to do. They did that with Peyton Manning. They did that with some other players through the years. I remember it seems like Tim Couch was one they did that with. And then, of course, they would just pass the mic for questions when somebody is there at the podium. For what reason, I don't understand. They did not choose to do that with Johnny Manziel. And, and there have been a few other instances like that where a player had enormous popularity, and it seemed like a no-brainer that they would take that guy and put him, up at the podium. But they didn't do that with Manziel. They didn't do it with a few others. And when they don't, it's this mad scramble to try and get some position around that player's little table so you can get a question in. If that's what you're doing, if you're writing about that particular player. Well, I remember when Johnny Manziel came through, I didn't need much, but I needed a comment or two from Johnny Manziel. Well, I got pretty good through the years at guessing what table a particular player was going, where he was going to be. Because they don't come in and they don't tell you where these guys are going to be, but they'll come in and they'll put up the poster board as the player is getting ready to get started. But anyway, so I kind of posted up where I thought Manziel would be, and I turned out to be correct. And of course, everybody just kind of started gravitating around, and then you had just 100 people. I don't know how many just camped out around that table. Well, when you get in position like that, you end up in different publications or newspapers or magazines or whatnot. And there are a couple of instances where I can recall that my picture was taken and published somewhere because I'd gotten a good position to hear whoever I was trying to hear. But that was always interesting to me, how some athletes they would put at the podium and others they would not. And then there's always just a burning story topic. There's always a few storylines from a national perspective that seem to be circulating at media days. But I'll tell you, the most interesting to me was really the last one that I covered, which I guess, I'm forgetting when Texas and Oklahoma, when that was announced, if that was 21 or 22. I'm thinking it's 21, which would have been my next to last one. But I can remember talking with Ross Bjork, who was then the Texas A&M AD. Of course, he had been at Ole Miss, was at Ole Miss until 2019. And he went to A&M. Well, I was just having a conversation, just a friendly chat with Ross. And, Texas and Oklahoma coming to the SEC was not on my radar at the time. And it was just moments after that, after Ross walked off, that news broke and really started circulating. And I thought, wow, I could have had that from Ross, but he would not that he would have told me that anyway. I just thought it was interesting that I was speaking with him, and then moments later, the story broke about Texas and Oklahoma agreeing to join the SEC.
Well, back in that era when Arkansas and South Carolina, I remember the at the press conference that night, Roy Kramer came on. He was SEC commissioner, and he said, I really believe one day we'll have a 64-team super conference. Now, that was around 91 or 2 when they came in. And I'm thinking, that man had a vision. And he was a pretty good, of course, I think the SEC's got a really good commissioner now. But, there was a lot of vision going on even back in those days. Now, I don't know if we'll ever end up with that 64 conference. A 64 super conference, and I'm sure it will be spread out by zones and things like that. But, the way the SEC and the Big Ten is, they're basically trying to get all the money. What are your thoughts?
I think Jackie Sherrill, you mentioned Roy Kramer making that comment. Jackie Sherrill used to float this idea around too. So it's been around a while. And Jackie's version of this, back when I was covering Mississippi State, was he would tell us you're going to see these 4-16 super conferences, and we've certainly got a version of that right now. I think the Big 12 is up at 20, so they have exceeded Jackie's prediction. The SEC's at 16. A lot of talk is about what happens to college football, what's the future of college football, and, with the NCAA passing the legislation recently that will basically allow schools to pay players, just to straight pay the players. I think we could see that coming. I know that there are some super conference teams, I'm told, that even though they are in the larger conferences, are a little bit concerned or uncertain about what their budget is going to look like when they have to start paying players. At the end of the day, you can talk about balance and equity and all of this. I just don't know how you can achieve it. I don't know how you're going to ever achieve equity when, look, the schools aren't equitable. Just some of them have a whole lot more money than others, and it's going to be hard for schools like State and Ole Miss to keep up and keep pace when you start paying these players. But I think that they'll find a way to get it done. They will evolve. They're going to do whatever they can do, whatever these schools have to do to remain a part of the SEC, to remain a part of the Big Ten, they're going to do. because it's their lifeline. It's their millions and millions of dollars to operate their athletics program. They're going to have to remain apart if they're going to compete at that level. I think they'll figure a way to get it done. And I also think, I've heard people express concerns about, well, what happens to college football when it gets to be only the rich like that? Well, I'll tell you, I think college football is going to survive too, because you can look at the Big 12, how it has remade itself with the different teams it has added. I don't know what's going to happen with the ACC if there's going to be more movement. Obviously, Florida State's trying to leave. Does this team join the Big 10 or the SEC? Obviously, Miami comes into play. I don't know what's going to happen with Big 12. But when you think about all of these other schools, just because these schools like a Texas Tech, a Kansas State, just because they're not included with the biggest of the conferences, their football program isn't going away. Their fans aren't going away, and ESPN still needs college football content. And that's what's driving this is the TV money. They've got to have the content. College football may remake itself, but in order to provide the content, there still have to be games, and there is still excitement around these other programs. So it may get bigger and bigger, and you may see two powerful conferences, and it may be harder and harder to be a part of those conferences. But college football will remake itself. It might not be what you and I remember and what we prefer, but it'll be around.
Parrish, this is Marshall, and I hate to say it, but we're out of time. We're excited about what you shared with us tonight. We appreciate that, and the prospect that, it may not be the same, but we still got something to look forward to. Let me tell you, if you would, hang on with us for just a minute. We're going to take a break, and then we're going to be back with tonight's final segment. We'll ask Parrish to hang on. We're going to hear from our sponsor, and then Dale and I will be back with tonight's final segment right after this commercial break.
Phillips Building Supply in Laurel, your hometown building supply store since 1954. We are locally owned and pride ourselves on helping our customers find exactly what they need. From foundations to roofs to doors and windows, Phillips has it. For tools, hardware, lumber, and plywood, visit Phillips Building Supply.
Welcome back, everybody. I tell you what, Parrish and talk. Now I'm going to call it Parrish or Parrish. It's Parrish, isn't it?
Parrish. It's like Louisiana parishes, except
okay.
it's like 2 R's.
2 R?
And he's from Louisiana. He's from right around that Baton Rouge. What's that little city about 10 miles before you get to Baton Rouge on the right?
Denham Springs?
Yeah, he's from Denham Springs.
Yeah. Okay. I knew some folks from Denham Springs in the cow business years ago, but we won't get into that.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Dale, I want to just throw something out here. I don't know. I saw this little deal on the interweb, and it's talking about the number of players per capita that are in the NFL by state. Mm-hmm. Now, what state in the United States of America per capita?
Oh, it got to be Mississippi.
Well,
Gotta be
it
Mississippi.
used to be, but it ain't no more.
What?
It's Louisiana.
Louisiana.
Louisiana. No. All right, Louisiana. I love Louisiana. I do. I said Louisiana. Mm-hmm. Don't take that for I love Louisiana. I got a lot of good friends in Louisiana.
Well,
they're 15. They're let's see. They have 15 players per million.
15 per million? Mm-hmm. How many does Mississippi got?
14.5. They're number 2.
Number two.
So the state of Mississippi per capita has the second most players in the NFL. I find that interesting. Do you not?
Oh, yeah.
What does that tell you?
Well, it tells you that we got some pretty good athletes in this state.
Pretty good athletes? We do. All over the board. Most all-star game starts by position. These players were mainstays at the midsummer event. teams have the most All-Stars by position. Ted Williams, left field, had 12 appearances. That's a lot, ain't it?
Well, Ted has some business over in Korea
Yeah.
and World War II, so he stayed out a little bit. He probably would have had a lot more.
More like Willie Mays had 18.
Yeah.
Hank Aaron, 14. Ryan Sandberg, 9. Roberto Alomar, 9. Cal Ripken Jr., 14. Brooks Robinson, 11. Don Drysdale, you know all these names, don't you?
I do.
I do too, because we're old. Most of these guys, Steve Garvey, remember him?
Mm-hmm.
Do you remember the commercial that Steve Garvey had with Lyle Alzado?
You have to refresh
And, you know,
my
Steve
memory.
Garvey, big baseball player, big hitter. Lyle Alzado was a defensive tackle, mean as all get out. Came to fame at the Raiders, and they did a commercial together over some maybe Brood aftershave or something. They were sitting there, and Garvey was standing there with his bat over his shoulder. And Alzado said, 2 big hitters. You know, that's what he was talking about, promoting the product. And after the thing, he looked over and he grabbed that bat and said, "Is this what you hit with?" And he started squeezing the handle, and the guy said, "Yeah, that's what I do my hitting with." And Alzado said, "I got to get me one of these." I thought that was one of the best commercials I've ever seen. Lyle Alzado with a bat. Now, that would have been problems. He was a problem anyway.
Yeah,
God rest his soul.
he was.
He was a lot of fun to watch play. Anything else you got for us tonight, Dale? Because you know what time it is.
Is it that time?
It's getting about time. We want to thank everybody for joining us tonight. We want to thank Parrish for being with us. We enjoyed what he had to say. We encourage you to follow us on Facebook at the Brouhaha. You can see all the shows or listen to all the shows on demand on our YouTube channel at the Brouhaha. But for now, it's time to say goodbye, Dale.
Goodbye, Dale.
And we'll see you next week for more of the Brouhaha. Get us out of here, Jamie.
You've been listening to the Brouhaha with Dale McKee and Marshall Wood. Heard Tuesday evening, 6 p.m. on WABO. For more of the Brouhaha, follow us during the week on Facebook and WABO.